Hey, I'm Ange.
And I'm Beck.
And we are the Gold Diggers, because we believe there's gold found in everyone.
Everyone is unique, interesting and exciting with a great story to share.
And we aim to find it.
The question is, can we rise to the challenge and strike gold? Stay tuned to find out as we chat to today's mystery guest.
Honey, you're my sugar.
So this is how it works. One of us knows our mystery guest and the other doesn't. And today it's Beck's turn to discover the gold in our special guest, Ashleigh Hodges. Welcome, Ashleigh.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, Ashleigh.
Now, before we dive into Ashleigh's story, I just want to make note of all the supporters out there that listen to us regularly, week in, week out. We love you guys. We thank you for your support. But we would really love it if you could jump onto Spotify or whatever you listen to and write a review, because we would love to hear your feedback. And I think we're going to add a section in here where we actually share some of the comments, some of the feedback, and involve you guys in how great this podcast is going.
I think that's a great idea, Ange. I love getting feedback and I love reading the little comments we get. It's just nice that we're connecting with our audience and we kind of feel like they're in here with us, don't we?
That's so good. I know. I love that
Yeah,
part about
yeah.
it. And we love it when you make comments on our social media. And so we would really love to hear your feedback.
Yes.
So now to you, Ashleigh.
Yes,
So-
I want to hear a little bit about Ashleigh.
Well, Ashleigh is 34 and she has 3 kids. And
Great.
that's just it, Beck. That's
Is that
all I'm
it?
giving you.
Oh,
Right.
righty-yo.
You can go out the room
okay,
now.
I'm
Off you
going.
go.
Bye.
It kind of feels good to send her out the room every now and then. So Ashleigh, welcome. So good to have you.
Thank you.
And we've actually only recently got to know each other. And it's through an organisation called YouBelong that we met in Toowoomba.
We
And
did.
that is an organisation that works with refugees integrating into Australia and refugees from all over the world. And this is a particular passion of yours, isn't it? You've spent some time overseas.
I have.
Yeah. And I know that you've worked even and lived in Thailand for a period of time. Is it 5 years you've lived there?
5 years in Thailand.
Working with an anti-trafficking.
Anti-child trafficking organisation. Yeah, they did rescue work of children and youth from the sex trade and also rehabilitation
Yeah.
of those kids just to get them back and get them hoping for the future again and, yeah, ready for a better life than the one they were thrust into.
And now you've spent some time over here, back in Australia, and again, just giving your time to really help families in need and people that really need help, that have no one else to help them. And that to me is what your gold is, Ashleigh. I just think you're this incredible person that lives your life in service to other people, and you're prepared to face some dangerous situations, to even move your family overseas. And use your skills and talent, because you're also a photographer, aren't you? And you're in media and communications.
Yeah, I do a little bit of a lot of things, but I'm like a master of nothing, but I can do a lot of little things. And yeah, photography and media and communications is some of those things.
Yeah. And also I believe that you and your husband have started up a new business to help tradies get paid online.
Yeah, we're calling it social justice for tradies, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, so
There's
it's
just no end to your talents. But yeah, I really, what the gold I see in you is just this beautiful heart to really want to make a difference in the world. And you're prepared to do whatever it takes to do that. And I just think that's such a strength of character for you. And so let's see what Beck can pull out of you. Let's see the gold she can pull out, and let's bring her back in.
Honey, you're my sugar.
And she's back.
Now, Ashleigh, I'm feeling very happy that I can now talk to you because before the podcast, we're kind of in the room and it's like these awkward silences because I'm not allowed to ask you anything about yourself until now.
I know, and I almost dropped something
Yes.
and stopped myself.
So it almost feels like I'm being rude to you, not being able to talk to you.
well, you can only talk about yourself, right?
Yeah, it's true, which, anyway.
There's lots to talk about there.
There is, yeah, we could go on. And anyway, now to you, Ashleigh. So tell me about how you know Angela. Let's start there.
This is a recent friendship, actually.
Yes.
And although we both live in the same neighbourhood on the Sunshine Coast. We actually met in Toowoomba.
Oh, wow.
And
Yes.
Ange and her team at Humankind had come to film a docu-series called Humankind, which was featuring YouBelong, which is the charity that I work for that helps refugees integrate and get settled into Australia.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing work.
Yeah.
How did you get into that?
Hold on, just stop there. This was an amazing moment, right? So I'm in the office meeting all the people that we're going to be interviewing, and in walks Ashleigh, stands next to me. We just start chatting, and then she says, "Oh, I live on the Sunshine Coast." And I'm like, "But we're in Toowoomba. Like, you work for YouBelong, and we're in Toowoomba. You go there." And so, she lives on Sunshine Coast. And then we started kind of cross-referencing all the people we know, and we realised that there's so many people that are in our world, and how I haven't met
We
you
have
before.
a lot of mutual friends.
I don't
Wow. And you live in the same neighbourhood?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Caloundra-shire.
Yeah. Oh, yes. In that
bizarre?
vicinity. Wow. So do you travel to Toowoomba every day for work?
No, not every day. That would be intense.
It
But
would.
yeah, I do travel there as much as I can because that's where the majority of the refugees have been placed that we've been working with. So
Wow.
it's so worth going there. I love going there. And I mean, it's a beautiful drive as well from the Sunshine Coast if you head up the hinterland way.
It is lovely.
It really is a settlement, isn't it, for refugee families, Toowoomba? Because I really noticed that when we were there, like every shop I'd go into or a taxi, or I even got my hair done while I was there.
Yeah.
And, they were all from different countries coming together. So it's really diverse, Toowoomba is.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a refugee welcome zone.
Oh,
so
right.
the community has enabled that to be called a refugee welcome zone, and the mayor is really pro resettlement, and it's just really got the community involved with how can we love these people and help them belong here.
Wow,
and
that's
so then the
amazing.
government's gone, okay, and plonked them all there.
Great.
Yeah.
And so is it just your organisation that's doing that in Toowoomba, or are there multiple organisations?
Toowoomba is a pretty amazing place.
Yeah.
There are lots of incredible organisations working there.
Yeah.
And YouBelong came along as more of like a gap filler. Like, where's the gaps here? Like, some people are doing English really well. Other people are helping with, like vocational training or getting jobs, or there's lots of things happening by organisations or churches or community members. But we came along to be like, okay, what's missing and where can we help? We don't want to reinvent what's already there.
Yeah.
Or just do something for the sake of doing it. We really wanted to be helpful and connect in with who was already there and with what they were already doing.
And you've been involved since the start, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like, so how long have they been going?
It's probably 7 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time to be driving backwards and forwards from the Sunshine Coast to Toowoomba.
Yeah. What does that look like? How many times, or what's your regularity of driving there?
It varies. It depends what we have happening.
Yeah.
But I probably try to get there definitely for every welcome picnic.
Yeah.
So we host a giant picnic in the park for everyone who's arrived in the last season, like in the last 3 months.
Yeah.
And we put on like welcome and come along. There's music and food and activities for the kids, and it's just a really great way for the local community to come along and meet their newest neighbours.
Wow.
And it's also great, obviously, for the refugees themselves to, like, they arrive after such, hectic experiences and living in limbo, and then they arrive and there's like a party for their arrival.
Amazing.
Like,
imagine that.
if you imagine being in their shoes, and you arrive somewhere, you don't know the language very well.
Yeah.
You don't know the location. You've got a lot to learn, and then you turn up somewhere and there's a party celebrating you and welcoming you, and smiling, happy faces, and free food, and a mix of cultures. So we try to do like a Middle Eastern banquet.
Yeah.
But also we incorporate, Aussie barbecue, like
nice.
sausages and ham
I
flavors
imagine
and
they
things.
must arrive pretty traumatised, really, from what they've come from. So then that would be
Definitely.
a big shift then suddenly to be in this place where it's a celebration.
And when you were saying like different groups have different niches, what's the niche that YouBelong has found where they sit really well into that?
Well, like the name, YouBelong.
Yeah.
We're really all about how can we help these people feel like they belong here.
Yeah.
Because what is a refugee? A refugee is someone who can't go home. So when you lose your home and you lose every connection that you had, that familiarity, your place of where you had a reference point, and then you can't go back to that place.
Yeah.
Trying to just live in limbo is really difficult,
and
it's a really long and often like indefinite process for people in refugee camps
And I guess many of them have left family members behind, extended family and friends. That's really difficult to then be displaced and have to start afresh in a new country.
Yeah, and particularly for the Yazidi people who we work a lot with from Iraq and Syria. They have family members that are still missing, that were taken hostage from ISIS militants that came and attacked their villages, and their family members are still missing. So you live with this grief and this unknown, but also a bit of hope, like, will they be found? Are they alive? Where are they? They just don't have closure for people that they love and people in their culture.
And I bet they don't really have any way of finding that information out even.
No, there's not a lot of people working to help them have closure for these missing family members, mostly women who were taken.
Yeah. Well, there was the stories of the schoolgirls being taken and things like that, I guess, is happening over there a fair bit.
Yeah. The Yazidi people suffered terribly. We help all kinds of refugees from wherever belong, but the Yazidi people have really been through atrocities and suffered violently and suddenly, and there's a lot to rebuild.
How do you feel Australians respond to them integrating into their culture?
Well, it's varied. Some people are totally ignorant or don't even know who these people are, or maybe they have an idea that seems threatening, even like, these people are coming and taking our jobs or taking our welfare, or they're not learning the language, or they're appearing rude, or there's just not a lot of knowledge, and then that can create fear for people, especially when the media has had a narrative of like, we need to protect ourselves and stop the boats and things like that in the past. They don't know the stories, or they don't know that, these people aren't the threat. They're the ones who have left the threat. These are the vulnerable people that actually add to our culture and add to our nation. And there's incredible stories of refugees who have become surgeons. Refugees healing us, or refugees healing our land, is such an amazing and already lived experience that's happening.
Amazing.
I think it's mostly that people don't know. But then there's those that know, like myself and so many others in the YouBelong team, where we have met and sat in the homes of refugees and, talked with them. And it's not just refugee, like we actually love to call them a waymaker. Just as a name, like, you're making a way. You've made a way here with your family through incredible odds. You're an overcomer, or you're a waymaker. Like this, this is a positive thing.
Isn't that so beautiful?
And that
I really love that. It's more of a positive name.
Yeah, it's more of a positive name, or like, you're our teachers. You have shown courage and, resilience, and teach us. How can we be more resilient? How can we be overcomers in our own life? So it's kind of like changing the script a bit. Like, you're not just a poor person that needs help and we're a white savior coming along to help you. It's not that. It's, you have been through a really challenging time, and how can we walk alongside you as you rebuild, and as you overcome, and we believe in you, and you have dignity, and you are doing it. You're already doing it. We just, how can we empower you and give you the same opportunities that we already have.
But all the gold sparks are flying already, Beck, aren't they?
Oh, well, I was going to ask, how did you find yourself falling into this job? Like, what led you into this line of work?
Yeah, so as a teenager, or probably even before that, I grew up in a family that always had margin for others. Mm-hmm. And so I think it probably started really early for me. I remember at 9 years old being like, I want to be a missionary when I grow up.
Yeah.
And like I kept that story for the rest of my life. Like it didn't change. I really wanted to help the poor. And I mean, that was the terminology I used at the time.
Yeah.
Was missionary, someone who could live overseas and help others. And yeah, so I did grow up in a family that really fostered that and created margin. So we always had other people join us for Christmas, or there was always someone living in our home. Yeah. Or we were doing like secret little treasure hunts where we would go and drop, you know, a basket of goodies off at somebody's house and they wouldn't know. And I think
that's lovely.
I think I grew up thinking about others in my family. And then through my teenage years, I went on a bunch of trips overseas. Yeah. And that just really cemented what I wanted to do.
Yeah, opened your eyes to other cultures. Yeah. So what kind of countries did you visit?
So for my schoolies trip in year 12, I went to Zambia in Africa. Yeah. So that's
a different schoolies trip.
Not quite the Gold Coast.
Not quite. Just a tad different. Yes. Living in a mud hut in like a little village out there. But yeah, had the best time. And I've also got friends who a really similar like vibe, and so they came along on the trip as well, so we got to do that together. Wow. It was super fun and it was great to give back. Straight out of school, straight into Africa. So that was the first of which became many. So I went to India from there, and then we eventually moved to Thailand.
So you lived in Thailand for a while?
Yes. Oh, okay. So we moved to Thailand, and we ended up being there for 5 years, working for a anti-child trafficking organisation.
Wow. So when you say we, who was that?
So my husband and I.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So tell me about your husband.
Yeah. So I am a young married. I got married at 19. Yes. To my husband Cameron. Yeah. And a couple of years after I finished school, I was still like, I want to be a missionary. I want to live overseas. Yeah. And he had just never grown up with that kind of thought. Like he had never considered living overseas, never living in Africa or you know, anything like that. Yeah. And so part of the tester, I guess, was we did a trip to Africa together with a team. Yeah. And I was just like, wow.
Was this pre-married or post-married?
Pre-married, okay. Yeah. This is before.
That's wise, testing the waters
first.
Yeah.
I was like, look,
is he on the same wavelength?
Just need to test this out. Can you handle this? Yeah. And much to my amazement, he was way better at it than me. He just, like, I feel like my whole life has been walking towards this kind of thing. And then for him, he just detoured right in there, slotted in. And just seeing him over there interact. And he was running like activities.
Like a fish to water.
Fish to water. And so then it became his passion.
Oh, wow.
So later on, we got married. Big tick. Yes. I'm like, pass the test.
Obviously, you were convinced very quickly, then got married at 19. Yes. Like, you win.
Tick, let's do it. And then we moved to Thailand together.
Yeah, right. And that was after you got married. So in your early marriage years, you moved to Thailand?
Yeah, we did. Okay. So we were full-time volunteers over there. And it was the best and sometimes the worst, all rolled into one.
Yeah. What kind of work did you do in Thailand as a volunteer?
I think as you get into the NGO world, so non-government organisations and charities, you begin to learn pretty quickly that they're often understaffed or under-resourced, or everyone wears lots of different hats. Yeah. So you might go for one particular role, but ultimately there is a lot to do and you wear a lot of hats. So We were really close to the aftercare home, which is where children who had been rescued from the sex trade or from sexual exploitation, we provided a premises where they would get care. They would have like house parents there to just be with them and help them as they transition. And we provided vocational training and employment options for the youth as well, so that they could earn income to provide for their families.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were really closely connected with the aftercare home,
Yeah.
which was pretty special because you hear a lot of the yucky, dark, dirty stuff, and it's pretty heartbreaking just to even imagine like a young person in that scene being taken advantage of and being exploited. But when you live there and you meet these girls and, you know, you get to see them, you don't even connect the dots sometimes. You just see a kid or a young girl, and she's beautiful, and she's, you know, playing, and she's, you know, playing netball or basketball or whatever you're doing, and you just think like, oh, these are just kids that are, you know, regular kids that need opportunity and need a better way. Better options. So
was there a lot of trauma that you had to work through with the kids over there?
Definitely. It's a journey, and you can, day one to like year one is very different.
Yeah.
How a girl first arrives to how she is, even after a few months sometimes, is very different.
Yeah, I guess it would take a while for them to learn to trust again. And I'm imagining the surroundings you gave them was a place that they'd eventually feel safe in.
Yeah, it's like the hierarchy of needs. Like we provide those basic things to begin with, like predictable food and a safe place to sleep and a routine, and just try and get them as physically comfortable as possible.
You've obviously witnessed some quite horrendous things in the environments that you've worked in. Just some very devastating stories. So probably experienced trauma yourself, the trauma that others have witnessed. How do you deal with that? Like, does it keep you awake at night? How do you not carry the weight of their lives?
I think I have a lot of compassion.
Yeah. I can see that. Definitely.
Yeah, I have compassion, but I also am just such an, I don't know if this is the word, an addict for hope.
Yeah.
Like
beautiful.
I see the darkness, and I'm just so motivated to then see the light out of that. Like that it's not the end of the road or the end of the story.
Yeah.
It's a gate, or it's, you know, it's a path. It's there's hope.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do find it difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be overwhelming. Like you just have such empathy for what humans have to walk through, especially young people. And the same for the refugees as well. I have compassion and empathy, but I also am undergirded by this hope of, there
and
is
hope's
a way
contagious.
forward.
If you have hope, then they see the hope in you, which gives hope to them. So yeah, it kind of is a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
That's a great
Yeah,
answer.
it is contagious. Yeah.
That's awesome. So once you were in Thailand, what brought you? Did you go straight back to Australia after that, or what brought you back? Did you do any more travelling?
So I had my son in that time. So he lived in Thailand for 2 years, and that was a great start to life for him. He was speaking more Thai than English.
Wow.
And then, we felt like our season, it was time to come back before we relaunched again.
Yeah.
But we actually weren't planning to come back. I just get very sick in pregnancy, and I had fallen pregnant again with my daughter. So it was more circumstantial that we ended up needing to stay back in Australia.
Yeah.
And then, we're still here.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
But we're very
'Cause you had a
connected.
bit of struggle, did you? I know I didn't say this in the intro, but there's endometriosis for you. That's been a bit of a journey, has it?
Yes, it has. That's been, a lifetime journey of discovery or lack of discovery, just painkillers, I guess, maintaining, not feeling like incredible pain. But it took many years for that to be discovered. And then, now I live much.
But it didn't
more
prevent
free.
you from having a family, which is obviously...
No, it didn't. We
Yeah.
weren't actually planning to get pregnant. It did just happen unexpectedly, which probably was good, or else I'd probably still be in Thailand.
Yeah.
Because, I really loved what I was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know lots of people have struggled with
Yeah.
fertility and endometriosis, so that wasn't my story, but the pain was the pain associated and the journey of discovery.
It's so common. You hear it so much
it
more and
really
more,
is,
just how women are really struggling with this. So, hopefully there's going to be more treatments available in time.
Yeah, already people talk about it so much more. It's so great, and people are getting diagnosed quicker
Yes.
to then get the care they need quicker.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's great.
That's great, yeah.
But I was sick not with endometriosis, but with hyperemesis
Okay.
gravidarum, which lots of people know through Princess Kate, who got really sick.
Yeah.
I think she helped bring that to air. But it's just severe vomiting and being totally debilitated in pregnancy.
So you
Blood
would've-
call in the lung, and like it
Oh,
was just
horrendous.
it was just a drama. So I'm very glad those days are over.
Yes. And did you have that with your third as well? Sounds like we're hitting on something.
Yeah. So my first two are birth children,
Yes.
and then my third child is actually a pending child, if we want to call it that.
okay.
We've been going through the adoption process
Oh, nice.
for many years to adopt a child, actually from Thailand.
Yeah.
So we've been going through lots of years of process and checks and interviews and you name it, a lot of paperwork.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, we're to be matched with a child from Thailand.
Right.
So-
So that hasn't happened yet, but is still in the process.
Yeah, we're
Wow,
still in the
sounds
process.
like a long process.
It is.
It is, yeah.
My sister's adopted 4 boys actually, and they're all brothers, and they came at different times. But the adoption process, even in England, where she lives, it was so long. And I think they really draw it out just to make sure that you are absolutely 100% committed to your decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is part of that process why it takes so long? Are they watching the consistencies of you as well to be parents over that time, or is it just, I don't know, what causes the adoption process to take so long?
Australia is especially long process. I know it's not always the case in other countries, but they do try to be very thorough,
Right.
how I would say. So they ask a lot of questions and they really go through every fine detail of your life and your story and your family and your intentions and just, they let time really show them if you're still committed and that it's not
time
just
is the
like a quick
tester.
idea of like, oh, I want to adopt, and it doesn't happen quickly. It's like you've got to be committed and you do a lot of training, especially about transracial adoption as well,
Right,
because it's a pretty complex issue, and there's a lot to think about and to navigate, and it's a challenging thing.
It does it is strange though. I think we can make a decision very quickly to abort a child, but the decision to adopt one, to love one, look how long that takes. There's something messed up about that in my thinking, but
Yeah, I agree. It's just there's so many children out there who want to be in a stable family, and if that process was quicker, it would certainly make a lot more happy children, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, because they teach a lot about even just the development, how important those formative years are, those early years with where they're placed and where they grow up, and just for
bonding
their
with the parents.
attachment and bonding. And then you're doing this really long process and you're thinking, oh, so if I had this child earlier, some of these issues would have been helped earlier. Like those formative years, instead of being in an institution like an orphanage, they could be in a family earlier.
Yeah.
So have they identified the child that will be yours?
We don't know a gender, but we know 4 years old will be the age of the child, and hopefully this year or next year. So
how exciting.
I guess we live with hope, and one day at a time. Kind of feels like this long pregnancy without a belly.
Yeah.
Like you've got like this pregnant idea of like your you're waiting, you have anticipation, you're preparing your home, and I'm preparing my birth children as well for this idea that our family's going to look different or have someone else in it. We talk about it a lot, but we don't have like a due date.
Yes.
It's very out of our control.
Right.
Yeah.
And how old are your birth children now?
I have a 9-year-old and a almost 6-year-old.
Right. So your process has been going since before your 9-year-old was born, is that correct?
Yes, we've done it 2 times actually. We did it in Thailand and then we got cancelled when I got pregnant.
Yeah.
But we had completed the process there, and then a couple of years ago we started in Australia doing it. So we have been doing adoption through different avenues for 8 years.
Wow. 8 years.
It's a long time.
You must be getting close, surely.
It feels like it is, yeah.
Yeah, surely they'll look at all this wonderful work you're doing and also being such a lovely mum to your own children and go, yeah, these guys deserve to have an adopted child.
We'll
Do you
see,
speak
but
Thai?
not fluently, but enough that for especially an adopted Thai child, I could speak child Thai, if that makes sense. Like I can understand a lot more than I could say perfectly in Thai.
Yeah.
I could understand what someone's saying
That
more
will
than
be
I
so
could say it
helpful.
correctly. Yeah.
Is part of adopting a Thai child bringing their culture with them? So you teach them things about their culture or keep that with them?
Absolutely. We think it's so important.
Yeah.
We will celebrate Thai culture. It is going to be a Thai Aussie home in our household. We'll just incorporate some of the Thai celebrations that they have.
Yeah.
We would love to bring the giant water festival to Australia, which is a Thai New Year. The whole country has a giant basically water fight. Water fight.
Sounds like fun.
It does sound like fun. I'm sure lots of Aussies would love that.
Yeah, we've had a few water fights at our house.
Yeah.
How have you prepared your other children for it?
Well, in 2 weeks we go to Thailand.
Yeah.
So we're just doing a refresher Thai culture with them, like just to be in Thailand and ride around on scooters and, practice some Thai language, eat Thai food and just re-immerse them in, like open their eyes and just prepare them in that way.
That's a good
Like
idea.
this is where, this is where your future sibling comes from, so you can understand a bit more. We also just talk to them with a lot of like hypotheticals, like, so sometimes, when a child has been adopted at 4, their brains are having a hard time adapting. So maybe they might not share their toys with you. How would you feel if they're not sharing their toys with you? How would you feel about that? And we just do a lot of like hypotheticals of like the realistic potentials that could happen, especially in the early days with adding a new little person to our family.
And are they looking forward to it? Are they excited to have a new
they
sibling?
are.
Yeah.
Like, even if, we're in the car and we say, okay, we've got a surprise for you today. They'll look around and then they'll say, are we going to go get our adopted child? And I'll be like, not that good. The surprise isn't that good. We're just going to McDonald's. But like they
one day
are very
will be.
aware. Yeah, they're very
Yes.
aware of like, something exciting equals adoption. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so they're very excited and Thailand will be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
So going on from there, did you then, when you moved back to Australia, you came back to Sunny Coast, and then found these connections to YouBelong? How did that happen?
Yeah, so as we were leaving Thailand, there was a lot in the media actually about ISIS coming into places in Iraq and causing terrorist attacks and attacking people and causing displacement, and there was just a lot going on in the news. So I was feeling very compassionate and really angry, even like just really like, what is happening? Who is helping? How can I get involved? Like I know nothing about the Middle East and that culture, that part of the world even. I had never traveled there. But I just felt really drawn to like, what is my response to what is happening? And so I just started messaging people, to be honest. I just throw things out there and just said, who knows anyone doing work there? Can anyone connect me with a reputable organisation or whatever? And and then I got connected to Tim Buxton, who had been living over there in Iraq at the time. Yeah. And we got connected, and it turned out that he had moved back to the Sunshine Coast, and I was on the Sunshine Coast, and he was driving to Toowoomba to meet the mayor to go find out what can I do to help these refugees that he had already known in Iraq that were being resettled in Australia. He was figuring out what can I do to help, which was the start of YouBelong. Wow. And I just happened to connect with Tim right in the beginning days when he was just figuring out how to do something meaningful in Australia.
I love the fact that you're just so proactive about it. You had a thought, I want to help. But we could look at, like, you know, the problem with ISIS and Iraq so far away from Australia, like, we can be content in that.
Too overwhelming. It's too big.
It's too overwhelming. There's nothing I can do to help. But you actually put it out there. I want to help. How can I help on my own home turf? To actually think that you could do that. It's remarkable, really, and just how you put that out there and you actually turn that thought into action.
I think everyone can do this. I'm really no one special. Anyone can use whatever they have in their own hands with wherever they are. Yeah. And for me, that's just my story. What do I have? And where am I? And then how can I do something with that?
So good.
And sometimes for me that look like, I know how to face paint. And then I can't tell you how many countries I've face painted in. Yeah. Like, who knew that face painting
it's a way to
would
connect,
be
isn't it?
a great way to connect. Yeah. It was just something I had as a young person who wanted to give back or contribute. Yeah. And I just came along with, I've got face paints, and that has just opened up so many doors in orphanages and all over the world.
This is such gold, Ashleigh. Really, really is. Yeah. So talking of gold, I think you're probably ready.
Yeah, I am. There's so much gold here. Firstly, you have a heart that loves mercy, and your heart's been open to the world, and the drive that you have to see a better world and a better life for people has taken you into these places that others wouldn't go. But for you, there's no barriers. It's like you're just seeing the ends to the devastation. I guess you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, or something that can make things better for these people in as small as face painting. That's a beginning, isn't it? It's like taking those small steps. So I just see you have this massive heart of compassion for the world, not just for your own like community, but your community is the world. And that's the gold I see in you, just big mother heart. You just love on people, and it takes you beyond boundaries.
I loved from how you said you grew up with your family, and that they were always looking at ways of impacting the community, giving back. The way you described that, you know, you did this treasure hunt, and it was to go and put things on people's doorsteps and that. It's so practical. And sometimes we can think giving back and serving our community and making a difference in the world is so far reaching for us that there's nothing we can do. And I love how you've simplified it. And it's always been just an everyday part of your life. And I think if we could all implement that in our lives somehow, not only would we make a difference in other people's lives, we'd actually live a happier life ourselves. And I can see that with you, Ashleigh. You can see that it just beams from you, the fact you've got great fulfillment in your life, and it really has been in dedication and service to other people, but the gift that's brought into your life, and it's made you very empathetic, understanding and compassionate to people that have walked a very, very different journey to how we live over here in Australia and how you've lived personally, but it's enabled you to really be able to connect with them.
I can't see that ending either. I think that's just who you are. It's just going, as long as you are who you are, that just is going to continue, because that's what comes out of you. So.
And like you said, it's, you know, it is about giving to others, but when you give, it is something back, like altruism or something like that. It is very fulfilling and rewarding So even if people are going through something tough, I always encourage, what can you do for someone else? Because it actually helps you too. Like, we were made for each other, and friendship is underrated. Being a friend is underrated, and there's so much that can really be
So
impacting.
important.
Yeah, so important.
Yeah.
And especially for the refugees, if you can be a friend, it doesn't take much of your time to smile, say hello, attempt to say something in their language if you can, learn a couple of little phrases, like Chawani Bashi, which is, Kurdish Kamanji. If you can learn to just say a couple of little things to connect, it makes the world of difference.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and then you can go even further than that and have a cup of tea, or go and spend some time with them in their homes, or invite them to your home. It's very simple and easy
Well, they
to love.
say it takes a village to raise a child. Just be part of the village.
Yes.
Be one of the people in the village that is helping other people.
That's
Great.
a wonderful work you're doing. And thank you for sharing your story with us today. I know it's going to impact many of our listeners and probably inspire them too.
Yes, definitely. And I'm just wondering, if someone wants to get involved in perhaps YouBelong or some other charity that works with refugees, how should they do that?
Definitely check us out. So it's youbelong.org.au. You can follow us on our socials, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. We're even on TikTok these days. But yeah, just join us and just learn more. It all starts by learning. The more you learn, the more you will want to get involved, because it's really good work.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And you're in charge of the socials, aren't you? Aren't you the
I'm
photographer?
involved. Yeah, I'm involved.
That was the bit I nearly dropped at the start.
All right.
That you're actually a photographer.
Yeah, and that just started, I'm not technically a photographer. That was something that I'm interested in, and it became an easy way to give back to YouBelong in the beginning days. I can take photos, I can tell stories, I can connect with refugees and find out more about them and how we can love them and share their story.
That's awesome.
So go and check out the socials, YouBelong, and no doubt you'll see Ashleigh's photography right there.
Yeah, and come and join us if you want. If you're looking for a way to give back in your own backyard of Australia, there are people right here who need a friend, who need empowerment. And
You don't have to go overseas to be a missionary.
you don't. You can do it right here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I've only just got to know Ashleigh just very, very recently. Didn't know all of that in her story. What an incredible story.
I know the places she's been, and I just love her positive outlook on life. Just being able to see there's hope in every situation, and she's seen some pretty awful situations.
I think it's just a really courageous thing to do, to just take yourself off, go and live in Thailand, a country you don't even speak the language, and to work with kids that are so, desperately in need and in such a risky area.
Yeah.
It's really courageous to do that. But she doesn't really talk as if it's courage. She just talks as if it's her everyday part of life.
Isn't it interesting too, though, how she talks about when she was a child and she always wanted to be a missionary. So it's always been in her. It's always been part of her to be looking out towards other countries, other cultures. So that's a natural thing in her life from as far back as she can remember.
Yeah, like who goes to Zambia for their schoolies?
Yeah.
Most people are
Certainly
thinking of
wasn't in my
themselves. Most people at that age, really, you're thinking of yourself, aren't you? And your own enjoyment. You want to hang out with your mates, have a good time.
It sounds like she just couldn't wait to get on that mission field, from very young. And I think that is where it's just like this overflow in her life from youth throughout her. It's just flowing out of her to be investing in other communities.
And I just love how she really simplified helping other people and people that we often consider very difficult to reach. Refugees, we think, that problem's happening on the other side of the world. Yeah. It really doesn't impact our lives, but they're here in our own home turf and we can really make a difference.
And I think there's some barriers that put people off, like language and culture and stuff. But she uses the simplest things like face painting or a cup of tea or just something to connect, a phrase that she can learn. I think that's gold, isn't it?
Absolutely. And just makes it so practical and something that every one of us can do.
That's right. It's a great reminder that whatever is in our hands, we can make a difference.
Yeah. And we should all be agents of hope or addicted to hope.
Addicted to hope. Yeah, love it.
So that's it for today's podcast. You'll find us on all the major podcast platforms. The podcasts come out every Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you on our socials, the Gold Diggers Podcast. Tell us about your story so we can find the gold in you.
Easy as pie, lemon, apple or cherry. Loving you is so very sweet, sweet, sweet. How can it be such a piece of cake? And your smile is the icing. Loving you is a poem. Honey, you're my sugar.
Boom, boom, boom.